Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fifth Tile, formerly known as Crunch and Chaos. We spent a lot of the podcast in the early days talking about Keyforge, but originally the plan was always to talk about all kinds of games, whether it's board games, card games, video games, and so we want to get back to the root of that, and we thought, changing the name would be good, and changing the format a little bit would help get us towards that goal. Okay, with that being said, let's get down to today's episode. Hello and welcome to the Fifth Tile Podcast. My name is Jay Shalansky, and joining me today is Evan Bulris.
Hey, how's it going?
And Brendon Franz.
Hey, everybody.
So the premise of today's cast is we've each brought a game to the table, so we have 3 games in total that we've enjoyed, and we are going to try to convince each other how to play. So we'll be able to ask questions about the game and try to convince each other and you to play. And so I've brought a game called 10 Minutes to Kill. This was a Kickstarter a few years back. Evan, what game did you bring today?
Godtear.
Interesting. All right. And so give me a little background on that. Was it Kickstarter?
It's actually coming out in November. It's currently in Kickstarter. I got to play quite a bit of it at Nova. They brought, the team was there. They're the same team that did Guild Ball.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time in that room when I had downtime, just seeing the different factions and playing reps of it.
Oh, neat. All right. And Brendon, what did you bring?
Well, I managed to get my hands on a copy of Wingspan at Gen Con, and for anybody who's had their head in the ground for the last year or so, it's probably Game of the Year for 2019 for board games.
Yeah, easily.
The real issue is just availability. It's from Stonemaier Games, and they have yet to disappoint me on board games, but their availability is kind of always an issue. So that's my game for today.
Nice.
Cool.
All right, cool.
All right, well, let's just get right into this, huh, boys? You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, I'm going to go first. So, once again, my game is called 10 Minutes to Kill. This was a Kickstarter. It came in about a 5.5 inch by 5.5 inch box. It's a tile-based game. And basically, what the idea is, each one of us, there's 4 players, and they have a 5th player expansion. But each one of us is a hitman. And so your goal is to kill 3 targets without being discovered by the other players. Each time you kill a target or arrest another hitman, you earn prestige points. And at the end of the game, the winner is the player with the most prestige points. Okay. So there's these little standees. They all have these humanoid animal creatures, a tiger with a business suit on, or this panda that's like a punk rock chick with a guitar and stuff. And you put these tiles out that are a city, and they basically have crossroads on them for streets, and you have to line all the streets up, and you can custom build a board tile, system. And then you put all these standees out. And so basically we put 16 location tiles out on the board. They have cool little graphics of a city looking down, remember the old Grand Theft Auto, 3, where you're looking down and stuff. So it's very much like that. And then you have policemen. Okay. And then you have all this group of characters. So the group of characters, the way they designed it is they can be either a hitman, or they can be targets, or they can be your hitman and your targets, and so on and so forth. And so what you're doing is you draw 3 character tiles from the pile, and those indicate your targets. Then you can draw a character from the pile that's your hitman, and you place the tiles face down so that nobody knows who you have. And then what we do is we choose a first player, and then we start basically putting all the characters on the board in different locations, okay? And you move the characters around. So during your turn, you can move a character, you can move a policeman or a character. That's one action amongst 2 that you can have. You can kill a character, or you can investigate a character's identity. So basically, you're trying to kill your 3 targets, but I'm also trying to figure out who your hitman is too.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I can dig it. I always like hidden roll stuff.
Yeah, it's really fun to set up, and it's really easy. And like the rules are kind of cool and simple. So basically, they have three weapons that you as a hitman have. You have a gun, which you have to be on. You can be on a tile adjacent to your target's tile in order to kill them. You can have a sniper rifle. A sniper rifle allows you to like if you have a long line of like 5 street tiles, you could be on like the 5th tile. They can be on the 1st tile, and then you could kill them with the sniper rifle or the knife. Uh, and the knife, you have to be on the same tile as them. And so,
Okay, I
like the
gotcha.
gun, the gun and the sniper rifle, like you can't use those if there's other people on your tile. So there's like all these other subsets of rules on how to use the weapons, right? And then so like what you do is a player can move a character on the board he wants, any character, including policemen. You can move them anywhere on the board. So like what you're trying to do is move your targets into a position where you could kill them, or move your hitman out of position if you think people are getting too close, and then you use the policeman to like uncover the other player's hitmen,
Okay,
right?
so it reminds me of, have you ever played a game called the Mr. Jack series? Any of those?
Mm-mm.
So it's a one person plays Jack the Ripper and other people play policeman, and there's a lot of hidden movement. So it sounds like that plus like a hidden, like Brennan's like a hidden deduction game plus, uh, so another like that. Is it? Does it when it says 10 minutes still? Does the game last about 10 minutes?
Yeah, it's really fast. So, and it's a quick game to set up and like explain to
Okay.
people. So and it's I found it a lot of fun, and basically you're trying to kill your targets without being seen killing them, and then like I'm trying to investigate you, but you're also trying to kill your targets while I'm trying to kill my targets, and then there's like consequences. So once you've killed something, if you weren't seen, the player, if you get your target, you reveal the tile to say that you killed them. So I killed somebody, but you don't know where I killed them from or who was it that killed them.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then let's say I thought it was yours and I tried to kill your hitman. I can ask you if it was your hitman, and if it was, you reveal the tile to say, yep, it was my hitman. And then there's a whole subset of rules, about if your hitman dies.
Okay, gotcha. No, that sounds pretty interesting. I know I've heard of it before on random board game geek boards, but I never actually got to try it. Usually Kickstarters I never get to see on a retail space. So once they're kickstarted, they're generally gone around my area anyway.
Yeah, Kickstarters are always tough from a retail perspective because like people are buying it directly from the manufacturer, so it kind of cuts out distribution in local game stores sometimes. So that can be a challenge sometimes for
No,
retail.
for real.
Yeah, and I think
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, and I think Kickstarter, people who design Kickstarter campaigns don't think about that. Like they're just thinking about the Kickstarter campaign, right? They're not going through the motions to set up like distribution and stuff for future iterations, right? Or prints of the game.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. And that's, I mean, without segueing too hard from your discussion there, that's a real struggle as far as, I mean, sometimes your most ravenous gamers, the ones that you want in the store buying your product, are the ones who are just going to get it on Kickstarter anyway. So you're
Right.
kind of losing sales from a local store perspective. But at the same time, like Kickstarter has all its pros and cons of like, knowing your print run size and not overprinting or underprinting too. So like it's a growing pain in the industry right now for sure.
So that's 10 minutes to kill. Do you guys have any questions for me as far as how it plays or who can play or anything your heart would desire?
All right, I'll start out here. So you said about 10 minutes is playtime.
Yeah, I mean, the first run through, because you got to kind of explain it to people. But yeah, you're looking at 20 minutes the first run through, and then subsequent, matches after that are about 10 minutes. Yep.
Cool, because I'm always like after I played a board game called, I think it was like 30 Minute Zombie, and you had to set the 30 minute timer to get 30 minutes to like get through this town. So anytime I see time in the name of a board game, I'm just trained to think that that's how much time it plays. So okay, that's cool. Like a quick game is always welcome for a good starter.
Yeah, and I found that like so it kind of bridges that gap between myself, a seasoned gamer, and then also like people who don't play games that much, where I could pop this out. It's got enough kind of strategy to it where I'm interested and I'm like, oh man, I'm really excited about playing this game, but it's not too much that it kind of keeps other people away from playing it or keeps them confused.
Yeah. So, Jay, you mentioned that it's pretty easy to, pick up and introduce to even like your casual friends, which is always a concern of mine. Because I don't like to intimidate people, especially when I'm trying to get somebody new to the table. But like, what's the age range here? I mean, obviously we're talking about hitmen and stuff. Like, what kind of age friendly are we talking on this?
Yeah, I mean, I would say as someone with kids, like I wouldn't mind maybe 12 and up. I think they put 14 and up on the box because it's part of that in order to get your European certification for the authorities for choking hazards and stuff like that. Regulation authorities, you have to put 14 plus, but I would say 12. 12's a good age with it because there's nothing bloody about it. It's, you're talking about killing other animal humanoid characters, but it's kind of benign once you start playing.
Okay. Are there any dice or anything in it, or is it just straight like secret card hand?
Yeah, it's just all straight secret card hand stuff. So you got 16 characters. It comes with 8 policemen, the corresponding character tiles, 16 location tiles. Those are the city blocks. And then tokens, first player token, reminder sheets, a rule book. So it's just cardboards and cutouts and tiles.
Okay, that's cool. So like easily stored if you take it out of the box.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, and they actually did so it's for 4 players, but then they did a 5th player expansion that was part of the Kickstarter reward. We unlocked a reward during the Kickstarter campaign, and that all fits in the same box too.
Oh, that's good. I hate when extra rewards don't quite always fit in the box originally for retail, so you're carrying around 2 or 3 boxes with you to try to get the one complete package around.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And like I said, it's like maybe 7 inches, maybe 7 inches by 7 inches. I mean, it's a square box, very easy to put up on your shelf. It's got, the graphics are really cool. I really enjoyed, they're like cartoon characters, but I really enjoyed how they did them with the mix between people and animals. Very neat. And it's just an odd way to do it, but I liked it. And, I think the characters become talking points because like there's a leopard, like baseball softball playing woman, and then there's like a mouse who's a waitress, and and it's just interesting to see um all the different characters too, and that kind of adds a level of fun as well.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's 10 minutes to kill. So who's going second?
I'll jump in.
All
So
right.
I heard a podcast by the name of Team Covenant talk about this game a while ago, and they kept talking about it, and it kind of drove me nuts because I didn't understand it was a Kickstarter at first. Uh, but it's called Godtear, and it's a miniature combat game that's set in a like a hex grid. Now, position of your miniature isn't important. It's not like BattleTech where they rotate a certain way. It's just how the grid plays out. But you get 3 war bands, and you set up across from another player, and there's different objectives you have to hit. But the setting is the gods have kind of disappeared, and their power lies on the ground. And your main character, each warband has one main character and a set of little minions, is the only one that can like pull the power out. So you're fighting over these objective points. There's 4 different kinds of warband. There's ones that are good at protecting stuff, ones that are good at killing other minions, ones that are good at killing other heroes, ones that are good at manipulating the area. And so you go back and forth, taking turns, moving your armies around and fighting each other over these points. The interesting thing to me are a couple things. One is there's 2 phases to the game. So it's one, there's a plot phase, which you have your card face up, and after you get done doing whatever the card lets you do, you flip it over, and it's called the clash phase, I believe, more like the fight phase. So you actually get, each character has two different ability sets during what phase they're in, one of the two, and it's really easy to keep track of and understand because you just flip the card when you're done with it. The game plays in like 45 minutes, which I thought was a really cool time frame. But yeah, like the biggest thing to me, which I hadn't quite gotten to this point yet, was the buy-in is very low for a miniature game. When a warband, they said it's going to be at like $35-$40, but that's literally everything, and you only comes with 3 cards, and that's the only cards you need for the warband. So I'm really big into Underworld, Shadespire, a Games Workshop game, but the amount of stuff you need to buy to be competitive can get a little daunting. Where this is, you just buy your warband, whatever character you think looks cool, and you can put it on the table and just kind of play. The other cool thing I like is, like, they're also the company that makes Guild Ball. There's no defense dice; it's just attack dice. So how that works is you roll to hit and then to wound, and there are these symbol die, and you roll to try to hit a number to hit, and if you do, you roll again to try to hit, see if you hurt the character. What's cool about that is you can have baked in stats sort of idea. So like the dwarves, I was playing, real easy to hit but real hard to wound. And what's nice is they can be, you actually feel like you're tough. Nothing's worse than having like, I don't know, you play X-Wing or Legion or any dicey kind of game where the defense die are supposed to represent how tough you are, and you blank out, and you're like, wow, Vader wasn't supposed to die in a hit, like he's supposed to be tough. But these dwarves are actually, like, they have a set number you have to beat to even hurt them. So it actually makes you feel like you're playing some tough characters. It's said to come out in November. But yeah, I actually had a really good, I played quite a few games of it while I was at Nova. And I was really smitten by how the low buy-in point, without having a ton of rules overhead, and everything you need to know, like, is just on a couple of cards.
So, like, as a player, how many cards would I have in front of me?
So if you're doing this, like, the competitive mode, I suppose you could say, would be 9. 2 for your hero and then 1 for your minions. Like, your minions are represented by 1 card. They all kind of do the same thing at the same time. So you move with them all at once, you attack with them all at once. But the casual game is 2, so you'd have 6 cards in front of you.
6, that's not bad.
No, honestly, like, at first I didn't understand, right? Because I'm used to Fantasy Flight games where you kind of get barraged, right? Because that's just how, instead of in a book, they're in a card kind of thing, so a codex. But I was looking, and it was really pretty reasonable for the amount of information that you had to take in to play the game.
So now so you said everything I need to know is on my cards. So is it like, for instance, like Legion, where maybe my warband has special abilities or something, and I don't need to go look them up? They're right there on the card.
Correct. Yep. So each color of miniature, there's 4 different ones, represents a base bonus thing you get to get bonus points for. Oh, I forgot to mention that too. Thank you for bringing that up. So how it works is, the game plays for 5 rounds, and what you're actually doing is you put down like the first turn, you put down the 1 marker, and you have a slider back and forth. And as you gain what would be considered victory points, you're moving that slider back and forth. And whoever at the end of the clash phase, so at the end of the second turn, whoever territory it is, like, if it's up to you or to them, you get to flip it, and it's worth 1 point. And so how it works is, first and second turn are worth 1 and 2 points. Third turn's worth 3 points. Fourth and fifth turn are worth 2 and 1 point. So it's first to 5. So, like, when you start, but you roll off to see who it starts in their territory of. And as you do things like, some heroes really like to kill other heroes, so you get bonus points for doing that. You move the slider like that many pips toward you, and like, say my hero really likes to capture territory, I do that and I move it back toward me that many pips. So you're fighting back and forth for the objective token, and then whoever wins it flips it over and gets that many points. But on each of the cards, it tells you what, like, that warband's color specializes in. So you have, like, an immediate, like, knowledge of what you're supposed to do, like what your character is supposed to do to try to get the best points.
So what's the learning curve on this?
Not too bad. So at first, it's when I've been because I brought a lot of my friends over. I'm like, oh my gosh, you got to try this out. I've noticed that it's people get confused about what phase they're in, and how it goes is ploy. And each time you do a guy, like you do his ploy action, you flip it over. Most of the time, people just forget to flip their card. Once you flip it, color changes on the back to determine that you're no longer in that phase. So a lot of times people like, also we had been playing games all day, so you get that fatigue, right? So maybe this isn't super accurate, but mostly like what phase you're in. But there's only two, so either you're in doing the ploy stuff or the combat stuff, and everyone has to be done with one phase before you jump into the other. But it's pretty neat. So every unit gets two actions, and you can only each do each action once. So you can move up and attack, or move and do an ability. It's really like, the easiest way I was learning is like, hey, have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons? They say yes. You know how your character only gets two actions? They say yes. And I'm like, cool. Well, here you go. Here are your list of two actions, and that is usually the easiest way to teach it.
And I'm just listening to this, and especially with Warcry coming out. I know you said you play Underworlds. Do you play Warcry at all?
Honestly, I was about to buy in. So Warcry has always been kind of on my fringe. I think the Corvus Cabal models look really awesome. The rules seem pretty basic, but I'm actually just going to hold off on Warcry until this comes out. Way better traveling game, because the units are all pre-built soft plastic. So you throw them in a bag, no big deal. You're only bringing like tops 12 little units with you, instead of like a cadre of troops. Rules are toned down. I really was looking forward to Warcry, but I saw this, and I think I'm just going to wait for this, honestly.
Interesting. Yeah, I just everything you said in as far as description and stuff, short of the hex based movement, like everything you said sounds like Warcry. Like minimal amounts of miniatures, except that with what they're doing with GW, you have to weave some of the parts together. And some of them, I have the Corvus Cabal, they're super dainty and super fragile, even
Yeah,
with a hard plastic.
they look beautiful though. Like, so that's the thing. Like, I've been hovering around Warcry, like a vulture, just waiting for like a good sale or something for me to jump in. But I saw this, and this kind of fit, because I play, right. We all play Legion pretty competitively. I play X-wing competitively. I play Underworlds competitively. What's nice about this game is, because there isn't anything else you need to buy or chase. You just buy, like, the dwarves are. You get the big dwarf, and he comes with, that's weird I said that, but a big dwarf and then four minion dwarves, and that's it. That's a whole warband, and he comes with 3 cards, and that's all you need to play that unit.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm loving simple stuff right now. Just easy to pick up miniatures and stuff. Small investment. Have me buy a box and be ready to play.
Yeah, it's interesting. So like the 2-player starter, is it comes with one of each warband. So just, well, I'm sorry, it comes with 2 warbands, one of each different color. So you get 2 in there, and one of the starters is just 2 I want to play. So for $50, I get everything I need to play: a mat, boards, cards, tokens, and dice. And then I'd get one more warband. Then I could jump into uh, any god tier tournament or event and have be at the same advantage of anybody else, because there's nothing else to chase, right? There's no upgrade cards I need. There's nothing. So you just bring those in and hope you understand how your warband plays if you're just buying them off the shelf. But you could theoretically get into this game and get playing for like 50, 60, 70, 80, about $90, and have everything you need forever, theoretically.
Yeah, I mean, that's not too bad, because how many of us have, I mean, I've dumped $100+ on how many Kickstarter Kickstarter games. Yeah.
Oh,
So
geez, for real,
anytime
right?
something looks halfway cool, I'm like, take all my money.
It was funny, because I was there and I played a couple rounds, and I looked at the guy. I'm like, where do I buy this? I will buy this copy right now so I can take this home with me, because this is really cool. It fits that, like, so the problem we have at my comic shop is, yeah, everyone loves Legion, everyone loves X-Wing. But you get to a point where, like, hey man, we got like 45 minutes left. realistically, before the shop closes, there's nothing we can play that we brought. So I usually keep a couple little small games on me, but this is the setup is you just put the board down and you're pretty much ready to go. You can actually get a full miniature war game experience and if you both kind of know what's going on, you can pound out a game in like half an hour, maybe. That's kind of long. Just how the phases go. I really, again, I do want to stress I like the no defense dice because it gets rid of that like feels bad mechanic when you're like, oh, the odds are in my favor. This should kind of work out. Nope. It's just you just roll a hit and then roll to see if you wound. And it's just all your static abilities will be what makes your character strong in those facts. So I think that's cool too, where you don't have to like on the flip. There's no like, oh man, if only my defense dice were better, I could have won this. This is just like, well, he just rolled hot, man. Happens, right?
Yeah, I like it.
So that's Godtear. Comes out in November. I think there's going to launch with 20 different heroes, I believe. Also, I ended up talking to the lead game designer, and he'd be willing to come and talk to us sometime. So more toward the launch, I think it'd be cool to have him on, and we could just pick his brain about what's going on.
All right, Brendon, you're up. What do you got for us, boy?
Oh man, Wingspan. So like I was saying, I think it was like pretty much game of the year 2019, and I think it just won a big German board game award for complex games, which is fun because it's not a complex game. It's basically a simple game. We're all bird researchers of some form. And if you didn't know this about me, I love birds. Owls are my favorite animal. So it just absolutely strikes a chord for me. The artwork, the pieces for the game are just really pretty, which means that trying to bring people in, you can bring a casual person in and teach them in minimal amount of time. Um, the game itself is billed as an engine builder, so it's not a deck builder, it's not a worker placement, it's an engine builder. And what that means is on your turn you have 4 different actions you can do, and then it cycles around to the next player. So you can play a bird card, you can get food from the bird feeder, you can lay some eggs, and you can draw some bird cards. And that's it. You get to do one of those things, and then you pass the turn. But where this gets really interesting is that for your lay eggs, gather food, and your draw bird cards, you also get to activate brown powers of any birds that are in that row. And so if you imagine your board, you have columns and rows, and the actions are on the rows. And as you start playing birds in that row, the power of that row goes up. So initially, when you gather food, it's only 1. But as you start putting more birds down, you could gather and you could be picking up 3 food for every time that you place your action. Or you could be drawing multiple cards on your draw bird cards. So that's kind of where the engine gets stronger, the more things that are in it. Also, the more brown powers that are on there, and they're just printed on the bottom of the card, they give you bonus powers whenever you take that action. So that's your engine just getting stronger and stronger. And so it might be that you gather food from the bird feeder, but then also get yourself a free worm, right? Or it could be lay an egg on a bird that you have that has an available egg spot. So as you're going along, you're building this stronger and stronger play. And you're looking at, there's public objectives that everybody can kind of compete for each round. The game is only 4 rounds. So when you run out of I think you start with 8 actions. When you run out of 8 actions, the round's over. And then you get 1 less action every round for the 4 rounds. So the last turn is 5 actions. And then you also have private goals, and everybody gets to start with 1. And then if you get more through playing birds or other things that you're doing, you can potentially get more goals. Those will give you bonuses based on what you do. And that might be like play birds with colors in their names. And then it even tells you like what percentage of the cards have that. And it's super smart. All the birds are kind of roughly based on their own actual facts. So like it'll tell you what the wingspan of the bird is, what kind of nest they have. It'll tell you what their habitats are. Um, if it's a predator bird, it might have an ability that allows it to potentially eat other birds that are smaller than it. So it's really neat. The mechanics are very fun. Some of the birds that like might nest in other places, they actually can move around on the board, and then you can manipulate like your engine and make that action stronger for the next time you go there. So it's just a very smart game. I learned it, I was having a very bad day and wasn't feeling good, and I was just watching my friends play. It plays 1 to 5. You can play the Automa rules that Stonemaier puts into their games, so you can play by yourself if you want to. I haven't tried it out myself, but even 2 players plays really fun, but also plays very differently than like 5 players because there's fewer triggers, and there's fewer things that'll pop up because sometimes cards will be like, whenever I do this, everybody at the table gets the bonus. And that's optional. You don't have to share it, but um, uh, you would miss out on the ability as well. So generally speaking, everybody wants to play nice. So it's super fun. If you want to play with your competitive friends, you can get really competitive. But at the end of the day, like you could teach this to your aunt or uncle who doesn't play board games, and you'd be fine. So I'm really excited. I'm glad I got a copy. My only disappointment is that in my very little amount of free time that I had at Gen Con, I was not able to get it authored or autographed by the author. So that was really my only hang up and bummer, was just not getting it autographed.
So this is a really interesting game where hearing Stonemaier talk about it, and he asked different I don't know, like businessmen in the business, I suppose. I'm for losing the right word here. How many he should print. And like, a game about birds, that's not going to sell. Just print like bare minimum, cover your bases, and then move on. Make your margin and go. And he's like, all right, well that makes sense, I guess. It turns out that if you make a board game that's excellent and also has a wide theme, that even like my grandmother would have loved this game, and to the point where like we had one of the guys, our friend at Just Games down in Rochester, was saying like he had older folks coming in looking to pre-order it because they wanted to play it. And so not only did he accidentally kind of stumble into this theme that hits so many different types of people, that everybody kind of wanted to play it, and it turned out to be a really good game. So you had like gamers going for it, you had people who wanted to get into board games, you had people who wanted a game about bird watching. So it kind of hit like all these crazy demographics, and it just kind of exploded.
Yeah, and that's interesting. So just a little like take off of this, a little segue. So, this is something I plan on talking about in a future cast, but I actually tried to kickstart a board game once, and Evan and I are going to play it on our YouTube stream one of these days. And my board game was about office life, like working in an office, right? And trying to steal supplies and all this stuff. And that was always my thought from the beginning is I want a game that universally everyone can relate to, because at one time or another you've had a job, right? And so there's been some sort of supplies. Well, similarly, tons of people love birds. Like, we all know what birds are. And I ran into the same thing that he was talking about when I was talking about getting this off the ground. Like, a lot of publishers that I was trying to work with to get this published through before I decided to start it myself were just like, if it's not zombies, fantasy, or sci-fi, it doesn't sell. And I think this is just a great example of just how wrong they are.
Yeah, no, I'm sick of it. And that's not just board games, that's video games too. Like almost everything is one of those genres. And and it's funny you mentioned the office thing, because isn't that the opener for Stardew Valley? Is like you're just sick of the monotony working in a corporate cubicle that you're gonna die in. And then it's just like, here, go work on this farm and start a new life and get away from it. And that's the premise of Stardew Valley, which also is just a Harvest Moon clone that's amazing. But
Yeah, and I think it's, I think it's interesting for the industry in general because I think pretty soon here we're going to start reaching a saturation point, which I think we have been for the last couple of years, where this industry is so big, there's so many games out there that it's hard. It's hard to get access and to know about all the games, So like a successful game, and I don't mean like uber successful. I just mean a regular success is someone who makes, let's say, 10 grand on Kickstarter, gets their game kickstarted and then, sold like 500 copies or 100 copies, right? Like that's a success. That's how we measure success now. And so it's interesting to see a game like this take off and just be a phenom.
Yeah, no, it's great. I really I'm super happy with it. For anybody who is curious, who just again didn't know, um Wingspan has an 8.1 on Board Game Geek, which I don't know how in depth you two know about Board Game Geek's ratings, but like a 7 is a really good game, and like a 6 means that like if it's a Star Wars game and it's a 6, like if you're a really big Star Wars fan, you'll enjoy it. If it's anything under like a 6, you better really, really, really just really want to play that game. But like if it's over an 8 on Board Game Geek, just don't even question it. Just buy it. Like just read no further. If it even piqued your interest enough to look it up, just buy it. 8 or better. Just buy the game.
So we've been talking about time and everything. About how long's a game run, roughly?
Oh gosh. And so I haven't gotten enough to really hammer it out. But I think you could play in 40 minutes reasonably. And I think if you're
That's
really
good. Yeah.
going slow, like maybe a learning game, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. And that's just gonna expand or decrease based on the number of players. Like a 2-player game, not only are you going to teach it faster, but you're going to get done faster. Also, like in a 5-player game, because there's more triggers between turns, because some birds have powers that are not brown powers like I was talking about. They're more like a pink power. And it'll be like once after your turn before it becomes your turn again. If the trigger is met, you can do the ability. So some of those are a little harder to keep an eye on. But yeah, it's really not clunky. And guys, I'm gonna blow your mind here. On the inside of the box, on the bottom part of the box, right, there's a little picture, and that picture tells you how to put all the components back in the box.
That is pretty crazy,
Whoa,
actually.
that's
Like
great.
legit, that's
Yeah.
good.
It's amazing. I
Yeah.
want every publisher out there to start doing it. Like
Yeah. And
it's amazing.
I'd like to say something a little off topic, but like similar. So Stonemeyer, like that dude is amazing. And if you go to his website, if you're an aspiring board game designer, they have tons and tons and tons of resources up there about Kickstarter lessons, and like there's stories about kickstarting and insights from his projects, like shipping and fulfillment, how to design a tabletop game. So like if you're interested in becoming a board game designer, or you maybe have a game idea and you want to go kickstart it, go check out their website, stonemeyergames.com, and see their other games. Like Scythe is a great game too, right? So like you got to go check out. They're just a great publisher and a great source of content and information about kickstarting and board games in general.
Yeah, I have yet to do Scythe. It's still on my bucket list, but I've done Charterstone, which is their legacy game,
Yeah.
and I've got Viticulture as well. And let me tell you, that game goes great with Chardonnay or Rosé or whatever you're into. Really, really fun game. But yeah, Stonemaier has yet to disappoint me, and so other than just product availability.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up this episode, boys. Is there anything you'd like to leave us off on? Evan, let's start with you.
No. If you have, we're going to be bringing games that we play all the time to here to talk about. But if you have something you'd like to hear us talk about, I think it'd be interesting for us to try to find a copy and try it out. So please send your suggestions to. Is this still go to the Fifth Trooper, or does this have its own?
No, yeah, this is going to be through the Fifth Trooper Network, so it's contact@thefifthtrooper.com.
Yeah, and as long as I can get our hands on it in a reasonable amount of time for a reasonable amount of money, please don't say Kingdom Death Monsters. I will more than happy to try.
Well, and we could tell you if it's a Kickstarter game from the last few years, I'm sure one of us has it, or has a friend who has it. So I'm sure we can work it out. Brendon, how about you? Anything you want to leave us on, my friend?
I'm glad to have the opportunity to be here and talk board games with you. And it sounds like we're not just going to talk board games. So I have all kinds of. I'm always playing games, a lot of strategy stuff, RPGs, things like that. Go Black Eagles, Edelgard is best waifu.
How dare you, sir?
Yeah, but yeah, no, I'm always into great opportunities and looking for things. I will not share the amount of money that I have spent on my Steam account, but I know how much it is because I looked it up recently. But yeah, no, I'm really excited. I've got a copy of Gloomhaven that is going to be opened up here soon. Got some applause going on. Everybody's really excited about Gloomhaven. You know.
Yes. Also, I am excited about Gloomhaven.
So I think my wife and I might just be playing a 2-player game and going from there. So I'm not sure, but that's kind of the talk. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm honestly a little intimidated because I know Charterstone took us 9 months for 6 people. So I'm going to trim down my legacy requirements and try and play smaller because 9 months for a legacy game that was 12 games
that's a little much. Yeah. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for this week. Thank you so much for listening, and join us next week.
This has been a Fifth Trooper production.